Hi everybody, this is the video for section 11.4 and also your homework number 40. So 11.4 is the second of the sections for the second week after break, and remember we had section 11.3. So after you're finished with homework number 40, homework number 41 will be a review of section 11.3 and 11.4, and that will prepare you for the quiz on 11.3 and 11.4, similar to the quiz that we had for 11.1 and 11.2. So please have the following in front of you. So have these notes, obviously, your computer with this video, okay, homework number 40, and then also your Chapter 11 theorem sheet and your Chapter 11 vocabulary sheet. So anytime you do anything with Chapter 11, you should have all these things with you. Okay. So again, Chapter 11 is about measuring the length and area. The length and the area of different shapes. Okay, section 11.4 is about how to measure circumference and arc length of circles. Okay, and these are related, but we approach them a little bit differently. So I think you guys probably already remember, probably from middle school, what the formula is for circumference of a circle. So you can calculate it two ways. The first way is C equals pi d. Okay, or C equals 2 pi r. Because remember, those are the same things because the diameter is just 2 times the radius. So you're really looking at the same quantity there. Okay, so remember the circumference, okay, is the length around the circle. So if you had a huge circle out on the field or something and you walked around the circle, okay, you would be walking the circumference of the circle. Okay, area is a whole different thing. Area is what's inside the circle. Excuse me. Okay, here's my area. Okay, blue equals area. Okay. Red equals circumference. And whatever you need to do to get that wired into your brain, okay, what the difference is between the two, that's what you need to do, because you need to be really clear on that as we go forward. Okay. So let's do a little bit of practice. Remember, our circumference is equal either to pi d or 2 pi r, whichever one works. So the circumference of a circle with a radius of 9 centimeters, obviously it'd be easiest to use the second version of that, 2 pi r, so is equal to 2 pi times 9. Okay, so that'd be 18 pi. And in most cases, please just leave your answer at 18 pi. Okay, I really don't care at this point whether or not you can multiply 18 by pi on your calculator. I assume you can do that. So just leave it as 18 pi and you'll be good to go. So let's look at B. So they're looking for the radius of a circle with a circumference of 26 meters. So you're given the circumference. So we're using radius and circumference. There's our formula, C equals 2 pi r. Okay. And need to go at it a little bit differently because you're given the circumference is 26 meters is equal to 2 pi r. Okay, and they're asking you for r. Okay, this is what they're asking for. So what do? So we have to divide both sides by 2 pi. And one thing to remember, pi is just a number. Okay, there's nothing, I mean, it is a special number, yes, and you'll learn more about that as time goes on. But for now, pi is just a number that stands for approximately 3.14. Okay, it's no big deal, but it's just a shorthand way of writing this special number, which is 3.14. So what we need to do is we need to divide both sides by 2 pi. Okay, this side goes away, so this isolates r. And we need to simplify this. So 2 goes into 26 13 times. So we have 13 meters over pi, or 13 over pi meters. Okay, and you can leave it just like that. Okay, if you want to go ahead and do the division, go right ahead. If you want the practice, that's fine. You'll come up with the decimal number. Okay, but for these purposes, for me, for quizzes, you do not need to do that. If you do need to do that, I will tell you. Okay, otherwise, don't bother. Okay. Excuse me, that's the cat. Okay, so arc length. Now, we're going to talk about arc length. And arc length is different from arc measure. Okay, up to this point, we've been working with arc measure. And remember that arc measure is the number of degrees in an arc. Okay, so this is our arc measure. Now, an arc length is, if you look down here, is if you were to walk from point A to point B along that circle line, that is the arc length. Again, don't get those mixed up. Arc measure is in degrees. Arc length is going to be in some distance unit. So it could be feet, could be meters, could be centimeters, just about anything, okay? But arc measure is always in degrees. So an arc length is a portion of the circumference. So again, it's a part of that circle that you walk around, okay? You can use the measure of the arc in degrees to find its length, which is going to be handy. So in a circle, the ratio of the length of a given arc to the circumference is equal to the ratio of the measure of the arc to 360 degrees. Okay, that's a mouthful. But if we write it out, it gets a little bit easier to understand. So remember, a ratio is a fraction. Make sure I got all my notes here. So 10. Okay. So ratio is a fraction. In a circle, the ratio of the length of a given arc, so here's my first fraction right here. The ratio between the arc length of arc AB, and that's this red line that I've just drawn, okay, divided by 2 pi r. So you notice that formula, this is the circumference, okay, is equal to the measure of arc AB. So remember, that's the degrees down here. Okay, the measure or arc length of AB divided by 360. Okay, another way you can write it is the arc length of AB. Okay, you divide both sides by 2 pi r, or multiply both sides by 2 pi r, is equal to the measure of the arc measure of the arc divided by 360 times 2 pi r. So you are going to need to know, in order to use this formula, you're going to need to use this arc length, and you're going to need to know what r is. Okay, and that way then you can figure it out. So let's work a few problems, but keep this this formula handy. And it is also on your theorem sheet, and it is also on your vocabulary sheet. So that's why it's important to have those with you as you go through this. Okay, so here we're going to find the length of each red arc. So I'm going to write out the formula. Change colors. I'm tired of looking at red. Okay, so the arc length of arc AB is equal to the measure of arc AB divided by 360 degrees times 2 pi r. So notice, okay, I'm going to change colors here, there really is no shortcut for writing arc length. Okay, we normally write the whole thing. So remember, for arc measure, we just use the M followed by the arc. Okay, M stands for measure. But for arc length, there really is no shortcut. So you need to write the whole thing out. And the book and the problems will do that also. Okay, so we're going to find the length of each red arc. Notice it's not asking for the measure of each red arc, it's asking for the length. So how long, if we were to walk between point A and point B along this red circle, how long would we walk? Okay, or how far would we walk? So that would be the question. So let's write our arc length of AB. Arc AB is equal to, okay, our measure of arc AB is equal to 60 degrees. Okay, that's given. So it's equal to 60 degrees, MAB, over, divided by 360 degrees, times, okay, 2 pi, and we're given our radius is 8 centimeters. So all we got to do is figure that out. So 60 over 360 is equal to 1/6 times 2 pi 8, okay, is equal to 16 over 6 pi. We can simplify that. Is that right? 2 times 8 is 16. Yep. 16 divided by 6, we can simplify that into 8 over 3 pi. And there is my answer. Okay? So it's just plug and play. Pretty easy. Okay, so I'm going to erase this one. If you need to pause right now to copy, please go ahead. Okay. Yep. Let's erase the whole thing. Why not? I'll change colors. Okay, so we're looking for arc length of EF. So our measure of arc EF is equal to 60 degrees. Our radius is equal to 11 centimeters. So plug and play. Arc length of arc EF is equal to the measure of EF, which is 60 degrees, over 360 degrees, times 2 pi, the radius is 11. Okay, so we have 1/6 times 22 pi. Get that from the 2 times 11. I simplify that. 22 over 6 pi, and that comes down to 11 over 3 pi. And there's my answer. And yes, you do need to take that final step of simplifying that 22 over 6. Okay, or else you'll lose a point. You got to start remembering to do that, because that will be super important in Algebra 2. Okay, so again, pause if you need to copy this, but I'm going to erase it. Okay. Let's do orange, just for fun. Okay, so here we're looking for the arc length from G to H. Okay, 120 is our measure of the arc length from G to H. And our radius is equal to 11 centimeters. So plug and play. Arc length of GH is equal to 120 degrees over 360 degrees times 2 pi 11. Okay. So we simplify that, that fraction. It becomes 1/3 times 22 pi. 22 is 2 times 11, equal 22 divided by 3 pi. There's our answer. Okay, so hopefully those are pretty simple. They're just plug and play. You just got to remember what is what. And so, of course, it's going to get more difficult as they start leaving information out and you have to figure it out. But that's the way it goes. Okay, so here we have some problems. Now, in these, you have to be really careful what it is that you're looking for. Okay, so number 3, you're looking for the arc length of QP or PQ. Okay, so notice they got lazy here and they did not write arc length. But you know, since PQ is an arc, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the arc length of PQ. Okay, so let's do our formula. Arc length of PQ is equal to, okay, our measure of arc QP is equal to 75 degrees. Our radius is equal to 9 yards. This should be sounding familiar. So I have 75 degrees over 360 degrees times 2 pi, radius is 9. Okay. So 75 into 360 is, we can simplify that into, what is it, 15 over 72 times 18 pi. Uh-oh, I just made a huge mistake. Did you guys catch me on it? Okay, I got my radius wrong. Good thing I noticed. So my radius is not equal to 9 yards. Okay, my radius, okay, this whole thing is equal to 9 yards. You notice how that 9 yard is written on the center? If you ever have a question about that during a quiz or even on the homework, ask me, okay? Because sometimes it's a little hard to figure out. So if my diameter, this whole line, is equal to 9 yards, then my radius is equal to 4.5 yards. Okay, so, wrong. 4.5, okay, and 2 times 4.5, as we know, is 9. Okay, so I have 15 over 72 times 9, so, okay, 9 goes into 72, 8 times, sorry. So my answer is 15 over 8 pi. And there's my answer. Okay, sorry about that. But hopefully you caught it before I did. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So pause it if you need to. Okay, I'm going to do this in a different color. Okay, so here we're looking for the circumference of the whole circle N. We're not looking for an arc length, we're looking for a circumference. Okay, all the way around. So remember, our formulas are either pi d or equal to 2 pi r. Okay, so we don't have a radius. Whoa. Okay, we also don't have a diameter. So what do we do? Okay, this one is going to get a little complex. So hang in there, and you know how to do it. You just need to put the pieces together. So we know our equate our formula for circumference, okay? But the problem is we don't have our radius, and so we can't use that formula for circumference. So we have to figure out what r is. And now we have this equation with arc length that uses the radius. So remember the arc length, and in this case we're given this arc length. Okay, this piece right here. Okay. So the arc length of LM is going to be equal to the measure of, measure of arc LM, okay, which is 270. And this is our arc length of LM. Okay, so our arc length of LM is going to be equal to 270 over 360 times 2 pi r. Except we know our arc length of LM, so I'm going to rewrite this equation down here so we can look at it. So our arc length of LM is equal to 61.26 meters, and that is going to be equal to 270 divided by 360 times 2 pi r. So now we need to solve for that r. So there's obviously a number of ways you can do this. Okay, I'll just do it the way I did it. So I have 61.26. Okay, and what I did is I multiplied the 2 times 270. So I get 540 divided by 360 times pi r. Remember, I combined the 2 and the 270. Okay, so 540 divided by 360 is 1.5. So 61.26 equals 1.5 times pi times r. So to isolate r, okay, I need to divide both sides by 1.5 pi. Okay, this isolates r all by himself. And 61.26 divided by 1.5 is 40.84 divided by pi. Okay, now you need to finish the problem. So now you have r, but you're not done yet. Okay, because remember our circumference is equal to pi d equals 2 pi r. So 2 pi r is equal to 2 pi. Hold on, I have to take care of the dog. Okay, I'm back. So 2 pi r, the circumference is going to be equal to 2 pi r, where r is 40.84 over pi. So conveniently, pi cancels, so we have it circumference equals to 2 times 40.84, okay, is equal to 81.68, and we're in meters. So let me just clarify what that means. Okay, we're saying the circumference is equal to 81.68. So the circumference is the whole way around, okay? It's the circumference of the whole circle, okay? And that's what you just figured out. Not part of the circle, but you used part of the circle to figure out the circumference of the whole. Okay, so review that one if you need to. It is rather lengthy, but it is kind of typical of the kind of problems that you would see on a quiz or your homework. So pause if you need to copy. I'm going to erase. And then we'll go on to the next problem. Okay, number 5. Now we're looking for the radius of G. So, remember, a radius is the line from the center to the outside of the circle. So we could pick either EG or we could pick GF. It doesn't matter, they're both going to be the same. So let's just use EG. So we're going to find the length of EG, which is the radius. So again, we're giving, just like the last problem, we're given information about an arc, its length, and its measure. So we're going to need to use our arc length formula to calculate for R. So again, our arc length, and let's use EF, is going to be equal to, there's the measure of EF, and here's the arc length of EF. Okay, so our arc length of EF is going to be equal to the measure of EF divided by 360 times 2 pi r, and we are solving for r. So we're given our arc length of EF is 10.5 feet, is equal to the measure of EF, which is 150, divided by 360, times 2 pi r. So let's multiply. So 10.5 is equal to 2 times 150 is 300, divided by 360, pi times r. Okay, so this is equal to 10.5 is equal to 300 divided by 360 is 0.83 pi r. So we're going to simplify and divide both sides by 8.83 pi. So 10.5 divided by 0.83 pi equals r. So 0.83, let's calculate this. So 10.5 divided by 0.83 equals 12.65 pi equals r. And that's our answer. Great. So hopefully these will help you through your problems. Okay, you just remember, you know how to figure out each of these. You just need to start putting the pieces together and knowing for sure what an arc length is, what an arc measure is, what a circumference is. Okay, and with that, you'll be good to go.